Ora, muito boas tardes, pessoal. Como é que estão todos por aí? Todos porreiraços? Que tal esse domingo? Espero que esteja assim porreiro, à maneira. Hoje temos aqui uma compilação enorme, porque é tanta matéria sobre isto que... pensei, vou fazer um vídeo só disto. A quantidade de coisas que eu encontrei impressionante. E há mais, muito mais. Tirei algumas coisas, mas há muito mais. E é o quê? O eclipse de dia 8 de Abril, que é amanhã, que vai passar pelos Estados Unidos. Há aqui algumas situações. A NASA e a segurança deles já veio pedir às populações para terem água de reserva, alimentos de reserva, que poderá haver falhas de energia, enfim, 30 por uma linha. Eu já vi, penso que 2 eclipses, e é a primeira vez que eu vejo tanta preocupação com o eclipse, sinceramente. Creio que exista um motivo para isto, talvez assustar as pessoas, talvez meter medo. Não vejo qualquer problema no eclipse. Se há algo mais no eclipse que eles não querem dizer, ou que estão a preparar para, isso já são outros 500. O facto é que no dia do eclipse temos a NASA a enviar foguetões com nomes bastante interessantes, e o Cern a ligar também o seu destruidor de átomos, digamos assim. Então, vamos ver no que é que isto vai dar, pessoal. Dentro de, sei lá, umas 24 horas a gente vê se ainda cá está. Ok, pessoal, então aproveitem o meu resto de domingo, aproveitem para estar com a família, aproveitem para comer bastante, engordar uns quilinhos, e se formos desta para melhor, vamos felizes. Se não, segunda-feira cá estaremos. Pessoal, um abraço grande, até ao próximo vídeo. Espero que gostem deste. É um bocadinho diferente do normal, mas é muita matéria sobre este eclipse, muita mesmo. Até já.
This solar eclipse theory just got a lot deeper, and it has to do with these cities. So as you probably know, we're having a solar eclipse on April 8th. So what everyone has been talking about is this picture right here, which is the past and upcoming solar eclipse patterns, and this picture right here. So this is in Revelation, and it says, I'm the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. The Aleph and the Tav, and the beginning and the end. And the Bible also mentions days of darkness in the end time prophecies. But all this got a lot deeper with one Bible verse. Matthew chapter 12 verse 39 reads, He answered, a wicked and adulterous generation, much like ours currently, asked for a sign, but none will be given except the sign of the prophet of Jonah. So what sign could Jesus be trying to give? Now this is where it gets crazy. So this right here is the path the solar eclipse is taking. And it will be passing several cities known as Nineveh. So what does that have to do with the sign of Jonah? So Jesus told Jonah to go to Nineveh, and he denied him. But he couldn't deny God's plan and still ended up in Nineveh. Now this is where it's crazy. This solar eclipse pattern will be passing 6 cities known as Nineveh. Begins with the city of Jonah. And not only that, halfway through, there's a city known as Rapture. And not far from that is a town called Williamstown, Kentucky, which holds the Ark replica. Now the goal is not to fear you guys into following Christ, because no man knows the day Jesus will be returning. But he did say he would give signs, so it's important to get right with God before it's too late.
Okay, watch this. Everybody is talking about April 8th. But did you know NASA will be firing 3 rockets into the eclipse? This project is called Serpent Deity. This is from nasa.gov. NASA to launch sounding rockets into moon's shadow during the solar eclipse. This is from Forbes. Why NASA will fire 3 rockets at the solar eclipse. But why is it called Serpent Deity? The serpent or snake is one of the oldest and most widespread mythical symbols. Serpent God is the name of this mission. Please tell me you have seen this symbol of NASA and the serpent. NASA in Hebrew literally means deceive, and watch this. In Genesis 3:13, and what is this that thou hast done? And the woman Eve said, The serpent beguiled me. What is that word, beguiled? This is the Hebrew word H5377, or nasha, which means to beguile or deceive, but it gets better. Two Hebrew words before this is H5375, which is also nasa, which means lift up to deceive. NASA literally means lift up to deceive.
Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Every day we get closer to this fucking solar eclipse, I swear something else comes up. Would anybody like to tell me why they are saying during the solar eclipse on April 8th, we will not have cell phone communications? I don't know about you guys, but something about that does not fucking sound right at all. What the fuck does an eclipse have to do with me being able to call back home and tell my mom I'm safe? But I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Don't take everything that I say to be fact. Even though I use real articles and information, these are just my own personal ideas, thoughts, and belief. Heavy on the disclaimer. For y'all talk about me being heavy on the disclaimer, I got to, or y'all will never see my videos. Along with gridlock, literal, they're saying there's gonna be a gridlock, traffic, like you won't be able to get in and out of the city, whatever the case may be. There will also be no cell phone communication during this eclipse. So when I saw it pop up, I had to screenshot it immediately because I'm like, nah. They've been calling us conspiracy theorists for the last fucking couple of months talking about this eclipse, and here they are with the cell phone warning shit. So they are saying that everyone is supposed to be bracing for infrastructure strains. And one of those warnings is a cellular network impact. And this comes from the New York State Police, and they are coordinating with other states, local and federal enforcements, emergency and transportation agencies to prepare for the massive number of visitors coming to the state on April 8th. And they went on to say cellular networks may be overloaded by high volume. People are advised to have their cell phones charged and bring chargers with them. Other safety tips include fueling up the day before the event, carrying extra food and water in your car, and if possible, staying in the region on the night of the event. And they're warning visitors not to use vehicles that cannot go 10 plus hours without chargers. So they're saying don't bring your vehicles if they're electric. Think logically. Because what the fuck are they talking about? You want to sit here and tell me it makes sense to tell someone to make sure that they have a vehicle that can last 10 plus hours for an event that's only supposed to be a couple of minutes? Y'all remember when in Leave the World Behind, they show how there was a massive solar eclipse and then it was being hit by like a solar storm? I don't know if you guys have been looking at what has been going on, but we have had the worst solar storm since 2016, and they're happening back to back to the point where I do believe that during this eclipse, while the sun is being blocked, we're going to be experiencing solar storms to the point where they are going to cause these communication outages. They want us to stock up on food because they're unaware of what's going to happen after. They want to make sure that we are prepared for what happens after, whether that's gridlock, no cell phone communication, not being able to get fuel, food, water. I'm telling you, the shit is right out of the movie that I've been quoting for the last, 4 to 3 months since it came out. And I just talked about it on my YouTube. But yeah, it's very fucking funny how Leave the World Behind showed an eclipse with a solar storm. And then boom, shit, nobody could do nothing but hear these crazy ass fucking sounds. But like I said, next time y'all see me, I'll have my tinfoil hat because I'm just a conspiracy theorist. So don't take everything or anything I say as fact. They're just my own ideas, personal beliefs, and conspiracies.
Finally worked out why you were all asking me if we are restarting the LHC on April 8th. Hi, my name is Clara and I am a particle physicist working on the Atlas experiment at Cern. In fact, I've just finished a night shift in our control room. And I've now finally understood why I'm getting these messages saying, are you starting the LHC on April 8th? It's because the solar eclipse in the US also happens to be on April the 8th. Just to let you know, well, the LHC is already back on. We've been having beams back in the accelerator since the beginning of March, specifically March 8th, and we have been commissioning the Large Hadron Collider, which means checking that all of the settings and everything's running properly before we do the collisions for data taking, and that's what's happening on April 8th. So we have already been doing test collisions, but it's the regular running that starts on April the 8th, and it's the same thing that happens every year. It just happens to coincide with an astronomical event, but it could be that we are ahead of schedule and it might even happen a day earlier. It could be that extra things need to be tested. It could be a day later. So the timing is a pure coincidence.
I told you guys 3 months ago that Barack Obama was going to put out this movie about the apocalypse and we needed to watch it. Literally, the people who were making this movie for Barack Obama said that all of his notations and the way that he wanted this film to be done scared the shit out of them because it felt so real. And Barack Obama came out himself and said he's adding stuff that he learned while being president to make this a real apocalypse seeming movie. If you are a conspiracy theorist or one of the woke people, you will know that this movie is a warning. It's not just for shits and giggles. Barack Obama has showed us exactly what the apocalypse looks like. And contrary to belief, it ain't zombies and it ain't meteor showers. This movie literally talks about war. Over the entire movie, the people who sound the craziest end up being right. The people that you see throughout the movie saying, oh, this is war, this is attack from Koreans, this is for outside job, this ain't no end of the world, this is someone doing this for war, ended up being right. If you haven't seen the movie, there are a couple spoilers, but I am talking about Leave the World Behind on Netflix. It is centered around two families experiencing the apocalypse together. One family owns the home and the other family was in this home and it was being used as an Airbnb, but for whatever reason, the owner comes back and says he knew to come back because of his higher end clients. He then goes on to talk about how someone in a higher up, he can't say their name, was laughing and joking with him, and he looked him dead in the face and said, I wish you could come with me. Lo and behold, this higher up doesn't explain what he means, and then another friend speaks to the same person to move around his money, and he makes a joke. He says this man who is a higher up and well known in the business world and has something to do with defense communication looks him straight in the face and says, oh, you know, I'm just going to my annual meeting with the rest of the evil cabal that runs the world, and says that he wished that he could take this guy with him. So apparently the day before this apocalypse started, he spoke to one of his friends, and another one of his friends says that he's going away, and he makes the same joke that the other man made, saying, oh, what are you going to this evil cabal with the rest of the world? I thought that was only during the winter solstice. And he said that friend didn't even laugh. He told him take care of himself and hung up the phone. If you know anything about the winter solstice is also known as Yule, which is what Christmas was stolen from because it's a pagan holiday. But that's another story for another thing. And then there are these planes that come flying across the town and they drop these red papers. And no one knows what the red papers say because they are written in Arabic, and the son sees one of the papers and says, I know this says death to America. So now everybody's freaking out because they start hearing these noises as well. These high-pitched noises, and the son's teeth begin to fall out. And they go to a neighbor's house to try to get help, and the neighbor's like staring them down, trying to fight. They have guns at each other because he won't give him medicine, and the neighbor's going on about, oh, yeah, this is an outside job, this is terrorism, da-da-da-da-da. It could be the radiation from the noises you've been hearing that are causing his teeth to fall out. And as you're watching this, you're like, this sounds crazy. You guys, the apocalypse isn't zombies. The apocalypse isn't even disease, really. You know what this movie says the apocalypse is? Someone infiltrating the central government and literally taking America down just by taking out our Wi-Fi and cell phone and TV communication. And then everything after that is when we turn on each other and it becomes a civil war. Yeah. Obama, you told me I know what's going on.
On Monday, April 8th, 2024, Central and North America will be celebrating one of the most anticipated astronomical events by cosmos lovers, a total solar eclipse. According to NASA, it will traverse the upper region of the American continent, passing through Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Additionally, NASA stated that it will begin over the southern Pacific Ocean, and if weather conditions permit, The first place in continental North America to experience totality will be the Pacific coast of Mexico around 11:07 a.m. Pacific time. Total solar eclipses are relatively rare in a specific geographic location. That's why the path this one will take is already generating expectations. During this astronomical phenomenon, the moon will come between the Earth and the Sun, completely obscuring sunlight and plunging areas where totality occurs into darkness, similar to dawn or twilight.
I'm pretty sure that 99% of Americans don't know that the upcoming solar eclipse will be the realization of a prophecy from the Bible, dating back over 2,000 years. On April 8th, a rare total solar eclipse will plunge parts of the U.S. into darkness in the middle of the day. The shocking part is, this eclipse will pass over 8 towns called Nineveh, which is the same city in the Bible where the prophet Jonah warned of God's wrath. Additionally, the constellation Cetus, symbolizing a whale, will be visible during the eclipse, echoing the biblical narrative where Jonah is ingested by a whale before he admonishes Nineveh for its sins. Jesus also mentioned Jonah's sign in the scriptures. In Matthew 16:4, Jesus draws upon this story. Historically, right before Nineveh repented in the story, there was a solar eclipse called the Bersagale eclipse. This astronomical event was said to have caused the pagan city to turn away from false gods and back to the truth. Records of this eclipse were also found in ancient Assyrian artifacts, verifying it happened. America has strayed from God and embraced secular values. This solar eclipse very well may be a sign from the heavens that the door for repentance are closing, just as in the story of Nineveh in the Bible after the astronomical event occurred.
On April 8, 2024, North America will experience a rare cosmic phenomenon known as a total solar eclipse, where the moon will completely cover the sun, leaving those in the path of totality in complete darkness. For your safety, here is what not to do when this phenomenon occurs. 1. Don't look directly at the sun without proper eye protection. Even during an eclipse, the sun's rays can cause permanent eye damage. 2. Avoid using regular sunglasses or makeshift filters to view the eclipse. Use certified solar viewing glasses or eclipse glasses to protect your eyes. 3. Don't rely solely on your smartphone camera to capture the eclipse without a solar filter. Doing so can damage your device's camera sensor. 4. Avoid driving or operating machinery during the eclipse, as sudden changes in lighting conditions could be distracting or dangerous. 5. Don't assume that your pets or animals will be unaffected by the eclipse. Keep them indoors or under supervision to prevent eye damage or disorientation. For North Texas, the moon will begin to pass over the sun at approximately 10:40 a.m. Central Standard Time, and will reach totality at 1:27 p.m. The moon will complete its transition over the sun for a few hours afterward, marking the end of the eclipse. For those who wish to snap a photo of this rare celestial event, it is possible to do so by holding your solar eclipse glasses to your smartphone's camera and snapping a photo. Just be careful not to glance at the sun while doing this. Overall, the April 8th total solar eclipse will be a rare phenomenon you won't want to miss. The next total solar eclipse will not occur until August 23, 2044, so be sure to get out there and remember to be safe.
This woman tells a true story of the Illuminati.
So I just had something really, really scary happen, and I don't know if this lady is telling the truth. If she is, I think that people need to listen to it and maybe look into it. If she's not telling the truth, then It's just something crazy. So about 10 minutes ago, my boyfriend and I are leaving my apartment complex in his truck. And at the same time that we're leaving, we see a lady driving in, and we look over and she's taking pictures of us. So my boyfriend's the type of guy where he's not just gonna be like, that was weird. So he instantly goes in reverse and she takes off. So she's driving down the complex and then we're following her and she parks. So he's like, hey, it was a girl. So you get out and ask her why she was taking pictures. So I'm like, okay. So I go right up to her window and I knock on it and I go, roll your window down. And she's going, no. And I'm like, roll your window down. And she's like, no, no. So after about 4 times of asking her, she finally cracks it, and I go, can you roll your window down? So she rolls it down, and I go, were you taking pictures of us? And immediately, she's like, no, this is what's going on, and she grabs her phone, and she's like shaking, like trembling. You can't even look at her phone. She's shaking so much. So she goes, I'm being stalked and followed, and she pulls out her phone, and she starts showing me her camera roll, and her whole camera roll is like zoomed in pictures of like random cars. And she goes, the elite sent people after me. She's like, sent people after me. She goes, I was on trial for O.J. Simpson, and she starts showing me pictures in a courtroom, zoomed in pictures of O.J. Simpson. Her passenger seat has piles of like documents, like redacted like statements and stuff like that, like court documents, pictures of his glove, like all of this stuff. She shows me a Zoom call screenshot of her talking to like random men. And she straight up is like, they sent people to hunt me down and like kill me. She's like, the Illuminati is real. She's like, you're young, you probably know the Illuminati is real. She's like, no one's believing me. Everybody that I tell thinks I'm crazy. And she's like, no one believes me. And she's like, and I need help. And I was just like, I don't know what to say, because I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And she basically just went on for another 5 minutes straight. I was standing at her window and my boyfriend was watching me like 20 feet away, and she just kept going and showing me pictures and like documents and books and like passes to get into courthouses and like all of this shit. And she literally was just crying about how she's like terrified to like even leave her house. And then so I was like, do you live in here, like in the complex that I live in? And she just goes like, sometimes. And then I asked her too, I'm like, your car is like a driver car, like you have a number on the back of it and it's like a really nice like blacked out SUV, like is this your car? And she goes, she like insinuated that she was driving it just like because she was driving it, so I'm assuming she rented it or something so that she didn't have to drive her normal car, so she was like more hidden. So I didn't get her name. I didn't get any more information than what she told me. She told me a lot of shit about the court case, about the O.J. Simpson thing. She told me a ton of stuff about stuff that's been happening to her, and like I don't...
World alert! Everything you need to know about the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. A beautiful eclipse gifted to us by the lovely nature created by our Heavenly Father God. Millions and millions of people will be able to enjoy this beautiful and majestic event, which won't occur again until 2045. We will stop seeing the sun for a few minutes on Monday, April 8th, as a total solar eclipse crosses Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Only in these cities will the eclipse be fully visible. This type of phenomenon occurs when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, blocking light on our planet. The eclipse will last for several hours, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time. The maximum point can be seen between 2 and 4 minutes, depending on where you observe it. Remember to use special glasses like these to view it, and it's recommended not to look at the eclipse for more than 30 seconds at a time. This will be a unique event that you won't want to miss. A beautiful event that God will gift us.
Solar ellipse as the moon passes in front, in between the sun and the earth that we haven't seen in 7 years. And unusual things start to happen as the normal rhythms of earth are disrupted. When you're seeing this eclipse, you want to observe this. As the day appears to turn to dusk and then dark, people have heard birds stop singing. They've seen giraffes suddenly begin to gallop, roosters start crowing, and crickets chirp. So watch for these unusual behaviors, and we encourage you to help NASA observe the sights and sounds around you. Eclipses have a special power. They move people to feel a kind of reverence for the beauty of our universe. Their power is not only to unify us on Earth, but to further science and discovery. Unusual things start to happen. So watch for
Did anyone else get the heebie-jeebies from this guy? Or was it just me? Well, if you do not know, this guy's name is Bill Nelson, and he is the administrator to NASA. This was a speech he gave the other day about the solar eclipse, and I want to point out a few things. So first, did you notice how he made an X with his hand when he was talking about the sun being covered by the moon? Now, I know I may be looking too far into this, but this is the occultic sign for Osiris is risen, as you can see Aleister Crowley flashing right here. Not to mention many other celebrities who throw up this sign. And we also know the 2017 and 2024 eclipse makes an X over America. I guess it's another coincidence how the United States Space Command has a logo with that X over America. Now, I also found it interesting how he brings up the fact that the eclipse makes individuals feel something. Now, this comment by Bill Nelson reminded me of this.
Okay, in 2017, I traveled up to Oregon to see the total eclipse of the sun in a field with a bunch of other people, and we're waiting for the eclipse, and it happens, and I freaking burst into tears. I had this huge emotional reaction to it that I was not expecting. And I talked to friends all across the country who had seen it, and they all said the same thing. They all had these huge emotional reactions to it.
So clearly there is something to these total solar eclipses that is spiritual, that people cannot control their emotions, that things happen. Now, what's going to happen next week? I don't know, okay, guys? But to think this is nothing shows that you are apathetic, you are materialistic with your spirituality, and you don't understand the spiritual realm, how this is significant. At the very least, it is a sign from God showing of judgment that is coming, or warning of war coming. If you look biblically, eclipses, the sun going dark, always is a sign of judgment, okay? Now, you can scoff at this all you want. Nothing will happen next Monday, I'm sure, but we will see in the following months and this year what unfolds. This was a weird speech from NASA. I mean, again, you have to read in between the lines. These people speak through the esoteric, not the exoteric. You have to read between the lines, guys. You see everything going on in the world, how they are preparing for it. At the very least, there will be rituals going on behind the scenes that we don't see. At the very least, that will for sure happen. So then, as a believer, as a follower of Jesus, what should we be doing? Praying, being in the Spirit, looking unto Jesus, warring against the enemy with prayer. Prayer is our way of offense in the spiritual realm, where we need to be praying for our loved ones, praying for our country, and praying for the unbelievers to come to faith in Jesus. So with that, guys, let me know what you think this whole message from Bill Nelson was. Maybe it's nothing. Let me know if you think it was nothing. But if you think there's something more that you have to read in between the lines, let me know. But at the end of the day, we focus upon the Lord. We will see what happens next week, and we keep on enduring. We keep on fighting the good fight. It is a spiritual battle. The war is in your mind, is a psychological battle, and we endure. We seek the Lord for discernment, leaning upon him for all wisdom and understanding, guys. Do not allow fear-mongering to overtake you. He has not given you the spirit of fear. He's giving you the spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. So have a sound mind when you see things on TikTok, in the news, what's going on. Go to the Lord for discernment and understand he has given you peace that surpasses all understanding, so you can rest in him, and it will guard your heart and your mind. God bless, guys. I love you all so much. And remember, the just shall live by faith.
We have a solar eclipse coming for the United States of America on April 8th, 2024. Now, this eclipse sparks a lot of interest because of its relationship to another darkening of the sun that occurred on August 21st, 2017. These two eclipses, 7 years apart, will form an X on America, intersecting in a very interesting small town in southern Illinois. And do you know the name of this town? It's Little Egypt. So we know the pyramid is our enemy, and it's interesting to find Little Egypt, of course, connected to this massive X that's about to be formed over America. The pattern of these two solar eclipses form an X over the U.S. It also happened in the early 1800s. But remarkably, the intersection of this century's solar eclipses will be about 100 miles from where those of the 19th century crossed paths. The first solar eclipse occurred on June 16, 1806, with the second completing the X on September 17, 1811. The intersection happened over the New Madrid Fault area, which includes an area from Cairo, yes, Cairo, in southern Illinois to nearby New Madrid, Missouri. We keep finding these Egyptian connections to this. On December 16, 1811, just 3 months after the second solar eclipse, a series of devastating earthquakes struck along the New Madrid fault line. Could the upcoming completion of an X across the U.S. midsection by the April 8th, 2024 eclipse point to another catastrophe in the months after?
A month away from the April 8th solar eclipse, Travis County issues a disaster declaration. Officials expect to see big crowds, traffic, and a strain on first responders, hospitals, and roads.
That's what we're trying to put resources in place for, to direct traffic, extra law enforcement on the streets out in those areas, extra signage, working with Waze and Google to try to pre-identify and map routes that people can take safely into and out of the area.
Private property owners in unincorporated areas are required to let the county know if they plan to host a gathering with more than 50 people. That's so first responders can prepare accordingly.
We're making the declaration today. It's going to be in effect until the 8th because we're requiring that registration and those other measures until the 8th. The court ratifying that today will keep it into effect.
Del Valle ISD announcing Friday they're canceling classes on April 8th, joining these districts that will close that day. Other districts like Austin ISD are using the day as an educational event. The county says there are no plans to close roads. Some parks require reservations and many are already filled up.
We want to make sure, even when we were talking specifically around potential challenge points going into and out of the parks, the goal is going to be to keep the traffic moving as free flow as possible.
Hays County is closing their county offices that day except for public safety ones. No matter where you are, leaders say avoid non-urgent appointments that day. Stock up on groceries and gas beforehand and download the What 3 Words app to make it easier for first responders to find you.